We are at the shop, and I'm outside, obviously, but the sun's shining today, and it feels a lot better out here today. And the reason I'm outside is because we've got the chassis sitting out here in the sun, baking, pretty much. We threw the last coat on the top of it this morning. I done my mixture a little thicker on the paint, and I still put, the same amount of hardener and everything in it. And I laid it down on the top, man, and it was slick, it was glossy. And right now it has dried to the satin finish. And man, this thing looks good. I'm excited. It turned out way better than we thought it was going to. I'll turn y'all around and show y'all what this thing looks like. Well, there she is in all of her glory. And man, it is slick. That satin black looks real good. It turned out great. Turned out better than we thought it would. We had it up there on our concrete pad earlier, and as the sun goes down behind the trees, we've been rolling it out further and further so it stays in the sun. Just kind of baking that stuff on and hardening it up good. But she looks good. It turned out real good. There's a couple spots we got to touch up. I made a run right there this morning because I was trying to lay that paint on pretty thick. But man, it turned out good. We can't wait to start putting this thing together. Start bolting some sheet metal on, or putting some sheet metal on and bolting parts on here soon. Y'all stick with us. We got a little project in the shop, and I'll show y'all about it here in just a second. All right, y'all. As y'all can see, Pop's been in here working on this rear end housing. This is just a 9-inch housing out of a Camaro. And the boy brought it to us, and the spring perches need to be moved in just a little bit to be center of his springs for his car. So we've got it, the jack under the brake bracket right here. We've got the pinion face flat where the chunk bolts in. Usually on these 9 inches, most of your manufacturers, they go off of the face of the housing. So whatever that angle is on that right there is what the angle of your pinion will be. It's basically the only way you can go on a 9-inch, But anyway, we've got this level up and down on this face, and these perches are on 6 degrees to get his pinion angle right. So what we're gonna do is Pop's ground off some old weld, and there was some old tubing welded on here, I guess for shock mounts or something by the previous owner. So we're gonna cut these old brackets off, these old perches right here, and we're just gonna slide them in 1.5 inches on each side. He needs them 3-inch narrow to fit his car. Right now they're on 45. We're gonna put them on 42 on center. So we're just gonna slide them in 1.5 inches on each side and weld them back on, but we're gonna clean them up. As y'all can see, there's some old weld and pretty big weld on these old perches right here. Once we get those perches cut off, we'll get all that cleaned up and smoothed up, and we'll get them welded back on. Y'all hang out with us. We're gonna knock out this little project today and probably roll the chassis back in here in a little bit. Y'all stay tuned. Well, we got the brackets cut off. As y'all could tell, that wasn't fun. But this is what we're talking about. All that junk weld on there, and they just put the brackets right over the top of that instead of cleaning that up. I know sometimes in certain situations you don't have the right tools or whatever to get the job done, and I understand that. They probably welded these brackets on with it in the car. But sometimes it's better to take your time and do things right. Because those brackets have obviously been torched off before, so they built up with weld to make up the gap difference. And we'll just clean them up the best we can. He wants us to reuse them, so. But first, we gotta get this rear end cleaned up. There's gonna be a couple of spots where I actually got into the housing a little bit. So if there's any low spots, I'll just take the welder and put a bead in those low spots, smooth it all back out so there's no thin spots or weak spots. And we'll get those brackets cleaned up and get them put back on in a little bit. Y'all stick with us. We're gonna get this stuff cleaned up. All right, y'all. We got everything cleaned up. I cleaned up this side and Pop's cleaned up that side. We got our brackets cleaned up over there in the vise. We've got them set right now. 42 center. What we done was we went off the flange on each side, measure from the flange to the center, move them 1.5 inches in on each side, and they're 42 center to center. So what we'll do now is we got it level on our pinion face, and we'll take a degree finder, set it on the pad, put our 6 degrees of pinion angle back in them, and tack them on and weld them on, and we'll be done. Y'all hang out. All right, y'all. Well, that job is done. Got the perches all welded back on, which was a little tricky, being that they had been torched off and cut off a few times, it looked like. But we got them all welded back on at the right angle he needs and center to center that he needs. He should be good to go. We're gonna get our stuff cleaned up here and let this guy know he can come get his rear end and probably call it a day. We hope everybody's having a good Sunday. Appreciate y'all watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Hope y'all enjoy the content of the paint work. We got a lot more content coming up. Putting the car back together. Until next time, we'll see y'all.
Appreciate you watching. God bless you.
Later.